incompetent and useless trash can be fired at any time. Angela Cohen pointed her finger at me and shouted, nose flared in anger. It's clear she dislikes me, maybe even hates me. But there's no need to say that in front of the entire company at a general meeting. I don't particularly like her either, but if she's going that far, it suits me just fine. Since I'm incompetent, I'll submit my resignation now. The room buzzes with whispers as I stand up and walk briskly towards the exit. If she thinks she can handle it, let's see her try. My name is Kristen Walters, a 35-year-old career woman balancing work and raising my daughter. I'm ambitious, if not quite a high flyer, and have climbed to the position of chief at Columbus Planning, an advertising agency. Life's been tough, but everything's been smooth since meeting my husband Scott, marriage, childbirth, and even career advancement post-maternity leave. While others in the industry often work overtime, our company doesn't have this issue. This has allowed me to spend time with my child and achieve my position as chief. The only issue might be feeling a bit distant from my subordinates and other employees. I rarely get approached for non-work-related chats. It's not a new issue, and I'm getting used to it, but it's still lonely not being able to talk casually. It's fine for work, but I wish I could have more personal conversations. Maybe it's because I don't have the kindest face or show many emotions. I must seem unapproachable. That's how I cope with coming to work without feeling too sad. Work has been challenging lately. The main cause of my worries is Angela Cohen, who became my boss 6 months ago. Angela's rise to my boss is simple. She's the daughter of the president of Columbus Planning. Originally working in a completely different industry, she joined our company at 39 to gain experience as a successor. She's a single mother with a teenage child, proud of raising her son alone, which perhaps makes her a bit harsher towards employees with children. Even when my child was sick or hurt, I never took a day off work. That's her usual line. She managed because her mother, the president's wife, helped by picking her child from kindergarten, but Angela acts as if she did it all alone. I think it's wrong, but who can speak out against the president's daughter? The title "The President's Daughter" sounds odd at her age, and she even says, "You can call me a miss if you want." Angela is mistaken about a few things. In this company, position and age don't determine one's worth. We are judged and appraised based on our capabilities and achievements. Regardless of whether she's the president's daughter or anything else, it actually doesn't matter. But when the president declares, "From today, Angela is the head of the creator department," we have no choice but to follow. Kristen, your daughter is already in elementary school and still gets fevers? Doesn't that mean your parenting is flawed? Oh, my daughter's always been prone to fevers. I'm sure it's been a hassle for everyone. So, you realize you're a nuisance. She comes to the break room where I'm resting to needle me with these sarcastic comments. At first, I thought, what's with her, but now, after 6 months, it's like a greeting. She seems to find her worth in putting others down. She's not just like this with me, she does it to other female employees too. Probably sees them as enemies just for being women. Her sarcasm was especially harsh the day after I took a day off due to my daughter's illness. Aren't you going to do something about that situation? She taps the sink with her nails and looks up at me accusingly. But what can I do? Of course, I've tried boosting my daughter's immunity with good food and exercise, which has helped. She's growing and catching colds less often. But she still gets sick, and recently there was even a hospital scare. Just as I'm calming down from that, Angela makes it harder to work. Sorry. Even though Angela keeps jabbing, all I can do is apologize. Maybe that was wrong of me. Her harassment is getting worse, affecting the morale of the entire team. I need to do something about this. Time passes as I think this, and before I know it, it's been half a year since Angela joined. The company's atmosphere is worsening, and everyone seems to struggle. Morale is dropping, and work isn't progressing well. Wanting to improve the situation, I consult with higher-ups and arrange to bring it up at the company's general meeting in a week. It's not about making Angela the villain. The recent decline in overall morale is the topic. How can we improve this? Of course, the president will be there, and it's important he knows the situation. I'm preparing to share the current issues, balancing this with my regular work. It's tough, but thinking of everyone makes it manageable. Perhaps it was because I was too focused. But I felt increasingly distanced from the other employees. Yet, I had resigned myself to that. All I wanted was for everyone to enjoy their work. As I pondered this, the day of the general meeting arrived. The president began speaking, and the microphone was passed to Angela Cohen before it reached me. I wondered what she would talk about, and it turned out to be the lack of motivation in the creator department. That was what I had intended to discuss. But if she was bringing it up herself, that would make things easier. However, the situation seemed troubling. Nobody listens to me, she complained. There's no initiative, no seeking guidance. Would anyone dare to ask her anything, given her response is always, "Can't you think for yourself?" With Angela not revealing such internal issues, the higher-ups, including the president, had no choice but to take her word for it, their expressions growing increasingly stern. The creator department must be looking terribly unmotivated. This couldn't continue. The evidence I had prepared to corner Angela would be pointless if the creator department wasn't seen in a positive light. I had to show that the department could function without her. But her exaggerated lies had brought the department's reputation to the ground. Now, what should I do? As Angela kept talking, her gaze turned towards me, and she pointed at me decisively. Especially Kristen Walters in the creator department shows a lack of motivation. As a chief, her frequent tardiness and early departures are demoralizing for the team. I was shocked not just to be pointed out, but also to be named directly. But what followed was even more explosive. Incompetent and useless trash can be fired at any time. So, Angela was planning to fire me. I wasn't popular among other employees, and to her, I was just an annoyance. Younger and lower in rank than her, I was supposed to be someone she could ignore. But as the only one in the creator department who stood up to her, I must have been an annoyance. There were others between Angela and me in rank, but none would speak against her, knowing she's the president's daughter. If I were gone, it would be Angela's realm entirely. She was trying to remove me on her own accord. Perhaps I should have fought back, but I had lost the will to fight. It's true I wasn't popular, and I understood why she wanted me gone. The president and others probably didn't have a good impression of me either. After hearing Angela's speech, they likely thought, "That's my daughter." Why? Because the president was nodding in agreement, looking at Angela. The current situation, if seen by a discerning eye, would look like a one-man show of the president's family. The president wasn't always like this. He used to consider us, the ground workers, and brought in projects that would help with our skill and salary improvement. But now it's different. The company only thinks of profit, taking on overbearing projects and setting impossible deadlines. And with a capricious person like Angela entering as the president's assistant, our already low morale has led to an impossible situation. I can't muster the will to excel in this company anymore. Though I'm not young, my experience should make it easy to find another job. Building new relationships will be hard, but it's better than struggling in a declining company. So, I stood up, looking Angela in the eye. I bowed to the president and the others, then turned back to Angela. "Since I'm incompetent, I'll go submit my resignation now." My abrupt declaration silenced the buzzing room. They were surprised that the person Angela had singled out was now announcing her resignation. But for Angela, this was a desired outcome. She smirked and applauded me. "No? You realized you're incompetent, that's a relief. I'll gladly accept your resignation, so please leave quickly." "Understood. I'll leave as soon as I finish handing over my responsibilities." "No need for that. Whatever work someone incompetent like you had is insignificant. We'll handle it here." She dismissively gestured for me to leave and turned to the president, asking, "That's all right with you, right?" The president and others nodded in agreement, and Angela clapped her hands loudly. Before the echo faded, she announced, "Thank you for your service, Kristen. Or should I say, thanks for letting me take care of you. Anyway, we don't need a harmful element like you in our company, so please leave quickly." Some employees, influenced by Angela, started clapping. Among them, the creator department looked disgruntled. I stood up, bowed to everyone, and left the conference room through the entrance. It was the first time I had been the center of attention in front of over 100 employees. But I had no more attachment to this company. I wasn't going to complain about the president not protecting me. I was frustrated that he only trusted his daughter as a business owner. Taking action now would bring no benefit. Someone else would take over the projects I was working on. I packed my things in a cardboard box, quickly filled out the resignation form template, and left it on Angela's desk before leaving the office. The general meeting was still ongoing, so there was no one walking around. Only the reception staff was in their usual place, so I bowed and left the company. For the first time in years, I left the company feeling frustrated. I had overcome maternity and parental leave, only to end like this. But I had no intention of contributing any further, and I couldn't see myself performing well. When I got home and started unpacking, my husband Scott came out, scratching his head. "What happened? Didn't you have an important meeting today?" "I quit my job." "What?" He must not have expected me to quit my job. I didn't intend to either, I wanted to keep working. "I'll tell you the details later." The next day, I woke up feeling surprisingly clear-headed, as if I had taken a step towards a new life. I can't dwell on the past forever, I have to keep going. I decided to take a break for a while, realizing that seeking revenge against Angela wasn't necessary. 2 months after quitting, I was getting tired of idling at home when I overheard Scott arguing on the phone. "As I told you, we are no longer in contract with you. Please, no more calls." He hung up and came into the living room, scratching his head in annoyance and sighing heavily before sinking into the sofa. "Again?" Scott, looking exasperated, replied, "Yes. It's getting ridiculous. It's been over a month since we terminated the contract." And then drained the contents of my mug sitting on the table. We spent the day chatting idly. It was an ordinary, peaceful day, except for these irritating phone calls every few days. One day, Scott finally lost his temper on the phone. "Enough already. If you keep this up, I'll involve the police. You're harassing us." He slammed his phone on the sofa and sat down heavily. "That's it. I've had it. Maybe I really should contact the police about this harassment. I wonder if the police would handle this kind of thing. I don't know. But I'm furious. I don't want to deal with them anymore." He was flailing his limbs childishly, clearly angry. Then the doorbell rang. What now? Could it be them? He rushed to check the monitor and then shouted at the visitor. "What are you doing here? Why would you come to our house?" He then spoke off camera, "Fine. You can't come in, but we'll listen to what you have to say. Make it the last time." I could guess who it was without asking. I walked to the door and opened it to find a man and a woman bowing at 90 degrees. Mr. Hansen. Please help us. Without your support, our company can't prosper. If there's anything we need to improve, please tell us. Well, for starters, I can't forgive you for firing my wife. What? The woman, who was bowing, looked up. It was Angela Cohen, the one who had fired me 2 months ago. The man beside her was Chris Mason, a capable subordinate of mine. Probably dragged here by Angela against his will. Long time no see, Ms. Cohen. Why are you here? Surprised, Angela pointed at me, and Scott grabbed her hand. Could you not point at my wife? That's a bad look on you. Startled, Angela pulled her hand away and clutched herself. Sorry. I was just shocked, unexpected, you know. Chris stepped forward, bowing to me. Ms. Walters, it's been a while. Yes, it has. How have you been? How's everyone else? Chris smiled faintly and replied, most have left by now. Hearing this, Angela pushed Chris aside and approached me. Explain. What's your relationship with Mr. Hansen? Are you pretending to be his wife? I wonder what she is saying. Her light brown long hair swayed as she grabbed my arm with her impractically long nails. The very behavior that Scott had just criticized. Scott glared at her, and I quickly detached Angela's hand from my arm. Not wanting to see him angrier. No, that's not it. He's just stating the facts. I use my maiden name for professional reasons. My legal documents should all say Hansen, right? I decided to continue using Walters when I married Scott at 28. Just as my career as a creator was taking off. Scott's parents approved, and my company's superiors were aware. I assumed Angela knew, but apparently not. I had no idea Mr. Hansen was married. She might have been interested in Scott. He's handsome and capable, a freelance graphic designer with contracts with multiple companies, including my former employer, Columbus Planning. But after I was fired and he learned about Angela, Scott terminated the contract. To Columbus Planning, losing a contract with such a key creator must have been a major blow. Scott faced a hefty penalty fee for terminating the contract, but he stood by his conviction, saying, I don't want to deal with a company that easily discards a long-serving creator. Essentially, Angela was the root cause of everything. Just now, Angela said, if there's anything that needs improvement, please tell us. But would she really leave the company if I told her the truth? I chuckled at the absurd thought. Angela glared at me as if I were an enemy. Why didn't you tell me you were Mr. Hansen's partner? Because you didn't ask. Isn't that something you would normally report? If Angela had been at the company when we got married, maybe I would have told her. But she joined the company 6 years after I was already married. Mr. Hansen, you knew how I felt about him and still led me on. I was just doing my job. You're the one who misunderstood. Angela, not sure if she's angry or upset, bit her lip, trying to hold back tears. I felt a bit sorry for her, but Angela, who has no discernment in male relationships, was at fault. She's a single mother, but the reason for that lies with her. Despite having a child, she was involved with multiple men. Her ex-husband found out and divorced her. Apparently, the son wasn't even her ex-husband's. And she hasn't seen him since receiving a lump sum for child support. I knew all this because Angela herself talked about it, playing the tragic heroine. She didn't seem to think she was at fault, talking about raising her son alone as if it were a heroic tale. As she told this story to different people every day, I couldn't help but remember it. There were also rumors that she had been involved with younger men in the company recently. Shall I report your other male issues to the president too? I won't allow such underhanded tactics. Anyway, I no longer intend to work with your company. And I won't be going to any dinners like the one you invited me to before. Even though Scott didn't know he was married, my aversion to Angela, who seemed to approach anyone indiscriminately, grew. Chris patted her on the shoulder in agreement. Just so you know. Everyone started leaving because Ms. Walters wasn't there anymore. Angela's face, already despondent, fell further as she heard this and shouted. What do you mean? Everyone hated her. This was news to me too, as I thought other employees kept their distance from me. None of us, including me, ever hated Ms. Walters. No one as capable and caring as her. But I never saw anyone talking to her. Chris patted her shoulder again, smiling gently. That's because we didn't want to disturb Ms. Walters, who was always immersed in her work. She wasn't the type to lecture but to show by doing. Angela turned pale once more. From what I gathered, a strike had occurred in the creator department at Columbus Planning. And many capable employees had resigned. That's why they were trying to push work onto Scott, who had a contract with them. There was no contact from them for a month after Scott cut ties. Probably because they thought they could manage with their internal creators. But as these employees left, they became desperate and kept contacting Scott, a capable worker. Even in this situation, the president and sales team kept bringing in more work, as evidenced by the dark circles under Chris' eyes. Fine, you come back then. I'll put up with you. She looked up at me weakly, issuing a command as if in resignation. Whether Angela was bluffing or truly didn't grasp the situation was unclear. I'm not coming back. Are you stupid? You haven't worked since you were fired. And now you act all high and mighty. Angela, looking pale and agitated, glared at me. But her look wouldn't make me waver or change my mind about returning. Incompetents get fired, right? It's your kingdom now, Angela. Do you enjoy looking down on me? I'm not looking down on you. Even if I was, who started treating the other as inferior first? I certainly won't return to a company that has someone like you. Angela trembled with anger, clenching her fists. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. Go ahead. I doubt you have that kind of power, Ms. Cohen. Angela, unable to handle my taunting, tried to lunge at me. But Scott and Chris Mason intervened, preventing any conflict. If you're going to act like that towards my wife, I'll call the police. Please leave now. We have nothing more to discuss with you. That's right, Ms. Cohen. Let's go back. This is a matter for internal discussion. Despite their efforts, Angela resisted, struggling against Chris. Isn't it time to give up? I'm just a former employee. And Scott was merely a contractor. Doesn't it seem pathetic to cling so desperately? I won't forgive this. I'll make you pay for mocking me. As she said this, Chris pulled her away from me. Looking forward to it. You'll regret this. I'll make sure of it. No retaliation ever came from Angela. Before that could happen, Columbus Planning was absorbed in a merger. The president, skilled in sales but not in design, lacked the power to revive a company that had lost its creators. Choosing to have someone else revive the company was probably a wiser decision than bankruptcy. The few remaining creators transferred to the acquiring company, where they reportedly excelled. As for Angela, lacking skills in sales or design, she resigned. She tried to depend on a man she was close to, but was refused due to her past behavior. Rumors say she lived with her parents for a while, but now her whereabouts are unknown. While Angela's fate is indifferent to me, I do hope her teenage son finds happiness. As for me, I started a company with Scott and now work from home. Fortunately, both of us had a reputation in our fields, so we haven't struggled financially. If anything, I've had more time with my daughter, and I'm happy. My goal is to continue cherishing my family and doing the work I love.